Hi, everybody, and welcome to this conference. And I want to start by saying that in our lives, we always ask ourselves why we are the way we are, or why we do what we do. Yeah. And these are questions that most of the time remain unresolved. Yeah. For that reason, today we will talk about the book Blank Slate by the author Steven Pinker, which will help us make a little more sense of these questions and also about our human nature. Yeah. And starting from the fact that we are the result of a complex interaction between nature and nurture, yeah? And then we will start from a vision from the education of these new times, yeah? So the question is, should education nowadays be based on the concept of blank slate proposed by Steven Pinker? Why? Um, well, my thesis is that teachers of the 21st century should implement Pinker's theory to understand human nature, yeah? Which does not explain everything, but does explain some things that help us to have a better coexistence with others, yeah? So, my first argument that supports my thesis is that the mind cannot be a blank slate because blank slates are empty and do not have any complexity. So, yeah. And according to scientific studies, the mind represents like the network of cognitive and emotional faculties, yeah, that provide human beings with the ability to interpret, interact, and respond to the environment, yeah. And this complex system not only process the information and receive, but also analyze it, allowing the individual to experience reality and make decisions and navigate daily life with a sense of purpose and direction. And therefore, a great consequence could be generated by believing that human beings or students in this case are empty and their minds are a blank sheet, yeah. And what Pinker also maintains, like we say that, is that an empty or malleable mind is not the best strategy for survival. Yeah, since our rivals or no rivals, the others, could manipulate it at will. Yeah, so it sounds terrifying to try to continue ignoring our biology, yeah, since this denial has brought about some of the most totalitarian regimes of the 20th century, yeah. So, and furthermore, implications to for the educational policies and practice, sorry. So this could lead to educational approach that prioritize memory or rote techniques in the school. That is like a kind of traditional model, yeah. And um, a challenge for 21st century in the education is to continue with a 20th century model, yeah, of life and education. And I think maybe a possible solution will be to take advantage of the tools we have to reason and learn, and to be able to face the problem which we were not designed, yeah, maybe I cannot say that, but yeah, we were not designed based on scientific approaches such as Pinker's ideas. Mm, this is the first argument. The second argument to consider why it will be appropriate to implement the blank slate theory proposed by Pinker more in the educational system or environment, and that is that teachers and students too must recognize the importance of the influence of genes, yeah, on the mind, sorry. So because the brain is configured from those instructions, therefore it can it can be said that different genes produce different minds, yeah. Therefore, it will be a great limitation, ignoring the importance of genetics and focusing exclusively on education and the analysis of human life in a social and cultural studies can bring several challenges, such as reductionism and simplification. Yeah, uh, since by focusing only on social studies and dismiss the influence of genetics, and there is a big risk of adopting a reductionist and simplified approach to understanding human behavior, yeah. So we must keep in mind that the reality is that the development of function and functions of the human mind is the result of a complex interaction between genetic and environmental factors, yeah. So the challenge is that currently education faces a major challenge, that is the excessive emphasis on a social environmental factors and as how do you say that, determinants of human behavior, yeah. This approach influenced in part by the sociological and constructivist vision, yeah, can have important consequence from the perception of individual responsibility and the understanding of human diversity. Because there is a tendency to attribute all the actions and behaviors to the social environment, and this can lead to a loss of the notion and of individual responsibility. Therefore, Pinker maintains that while it is true the environment can influence human behavior, yeah, but there is also a significant influence of genetic factors in shaping people's mind and behavior, yeah. For instance, a student no longer recognizes his actions because he only sees that these are caused by society, and the fault lies with the others, yeah. And he and no and additionally, he tries to seek recognition on his identity, yeah, ignoring his possible genetic patterns. And we can relate this to the theory that noble savages that reflects that belief, how to say that, reflects that belief that human beings in the nature state are selfish and peaceful and calm and whatever, and that the evils such as greed, anxiety, and violence are product of civilization. So in the field of education, it is essential to recognize the importance of the influence of genes on the development of the mind, yeah, especially with the students. Okay, another important aspect that education from Pinker's idea should address is that currently there is like a growing rejection or social bias among students to talk about the concept of gender from a scientific perspective, because this rejection arises in a part from the perception that science is incapable of providing an universal truth independent of culture and politics. And taking into account Stephen is sorry Pinker addressed that the gender issues from a perspective that recognize the complex interaction between the biological, the culture, and the social. Yeah, he mentioned that the notion that gender is entirely a social construction, defending the idea that there is a underlying biological and evolutionary basis for some of the gender and differences observed in the society. In addition, he recognized that there are a vast difference between men and women in certain characteristics and behaviors, such as there are more women in humanity programs, and this can be explained by brain differences and hormones. For example, that it has been suggested the prenatal exposures to testosterone may be associated with certain spatial and mathematical abilities or genetics in inheritance. Yeah. So, however, it is noticed that this difference shouldn't be used to justify discrimination and gender inequality. Yeah. So we can say that understanding this kind of difference from a scientific perspective and from Pinker's theory can can help us like address a gender stereotypes or labels and promote a great equality in the educational environment by helping like young people or students to be more critical and of these like terms and understand further like a social movements or a new global trends and everything that involves in gender and sex from biology. Yeah, so the idea is that students take or make decisions about those concepts and try to be more critical with them. Okay, to sum up all this information, well, I'm agree. So education nowadays should be based on the concept of blank slate proposed by Steven Pinker, because human nature is hardwired in the brain, and we must seek to understand if we want to treat each other better, yeah, and have a better coexistence. And according to Pinker's view, human nature, as I mentioned before, human nature doesn't explain everything, but does explain some things that we need to know. And I want to quoting Pinker. So he he mentioned that a culture is essential, but it could not exist without the mental faculties that allow human beings to construct and learn culture. So I think this book helps and allows to try to understand more our complexity world and mind and human nature, and trying to be better with our actions, and not only think that the problem is the culture or the society, but also analyze our inner self. Yeah, so I think this is all for this conference, and I hope you understand me, and yeah, it was a pleasure. Bye.